Defense.
Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. Because they don't want me to, that's why I do it.
Presented by the National Rifle Association. From the 6 Hour Studios. On the Patriot Mobile Platinum microphone.
They're never going to stop us here.
Here is your host, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting the enemies of freedom, Mark Walters.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's Daily Defense here in the 6 Hour Studios begins right now. I am Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day. And it's all being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. That's a beautiful thing, isn't it? Look at that camera fixed up if you're watching us. Greg, we are on Facebook.com/Armed American Radio today in Dallas, Texas, brother. And I'll let you tell everybody else where they can listen and all that good stuff. And then we'll get cracking with our guest, Lee the Gunwriter Williams.
Sure, if you want to watch the show, just head on over to YouTube and Rumble and search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. Over on X, we're at AAR Mark. If you'd like to join our live chat, just download the Telegram messaging app, create you a profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
That'll do the trick, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go to the phones. Lee the Gunwriter Williams, how you doing, my brother?
Beyond angry. Wish the Supreme Court could have a do-over. Oh, jeez. I mean, oh, my God.
Well, hey, Greg, I want to caution you in a email exchange I had with Lee before the show broke today. He said, I might use some FCC unfriendly words. So stay on the dump switch with Lee here today, okay? Let's just make that clear right now. But Lee's a professional. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But Greg's there too, Lee. He's a pro too, so we got you covered, brother. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Here's something interesting. You know, I like to do this before airtime sometimes, and it was kind of fun to do today. And let me pull it up here. Ooh, where is it? Good heavens. If you just Google gun control right now, every single topic is the SCOTUS case. And we're going to go to one of those in just a few minutes. But before we do that, I want to find out from you, what did Lee the Gunwriter Williams think when you found out the Supreme Court literally punted, not kicking the can down the road this time, but punted the case out of the Supreme Court building with that decision not to seek cert? Ladies and gentlemen, those of you who might be new to the program or just joining us and are not aware of this, Supreme Court of the United States yesterday announced that they were refusing to hear the Maryland assault weapon ban case, which essentially leaves the Maryland ban standing if you're in the Fourth Circuit right now. But this case applies to Maryland, but anywhere in the Fourth Circuit this would apply to. So, yeah, well, not according to the Supreme Court, we'll get into Kavanaugh in just a second, but according to what they did, the Fourth Circuit Court decision to find your right to keep and bear an AR-15 or whatever they define an assault weapon to be, their right to ban that is constitutional according to the Fourth Circuit, and the Supreme Court let that stand by punting this case. Lee, what went through your head, brother?
The worst for me was when I read what Kavanaugh said, and I got to quote him, in my view, this court should and presumably will address the AR issue soon. Okay, he's admitting that it needs to be addressed.
Right.
But what soon? I mean, right now there are people who are being denied their God-given constitutional rights in the Fourth Circuit. There are people who may want an AR to defend themselves. There are people who may be killed because they don't have access to a decent weapon because it's banned there. It is banned there. And this guy's like, no hurry, we'll get around to it. I was just pulling the hair out, man. It just made me angrier than I've been in years.
Well, interestingly, ladies and gentlemen, again, for those of you who are not aware of how this process works, but to be granted cert means the Supreme Court is going to take the case and hear it. Now, with respect to the court, they grant cert in less than 1% of the cases that come before them. And they get tons of cases coming before them, tons of cases that come before them. And they grant cert to hear a case less than 1% of the time on average, Lee. And this is a case that had been going back and forth. We all know that. Regular listeners hear this all the time as we talked about this case. But it only takes 4 justices to decide to grant cert and hear a case. And in the dissent, Gorsuch, Alito joined Thomas in the dissent, which was scathing, by the way. We'll get into some of that today. We didn't have time for it yesterday. That said they would have granted cert. Kavanaugh just said in his explanation that the court will hear one, and it will be soon. He's clearly the fourth justice that decided against it. Why? And that's where the questions come in. And as we think about this more and more throughout the day, the pendulum begins to swing back and forth in our brains. And that's what we're going to talk about. And I want to get all of my guests' opinion. And Lee, now you are here. You know, what if he was the fourth one? If he said yes, the case would have been taken. So what does that say? That he didn't? Why? What's he worried about?
That says to me that he's just in no big hurry. He doesn't realize that this is the only amendment, the Second Amendment, that you could do this with, because it's been so mistreated by so many courts for so many years. And as somebody who venerates the Second Amendment, as we both do, this is maddening. This is insane, bro. This is insane. I mean, I should stop.
No, don't. I'll stop you and go in here, and we'll lead you down some roads here, because again, I don't have the answer. We can't get in Kavanaugh's head, but there's a reason, and it, you know, again, as this percolates over the next few days, and we think about this, and our analysis becomes clear. I'm going to bring Mark Smith on the show, ladies and gentlemen, to talk about this, too, constitutional attorney and pro-gun attorney. Hopefully, we'll do that on Sunday and get his perspective from a legal sense. But, you know, interestingly, if Kavanaugh decided to take the case and join the other three, that's four, the case would have been granted cert. So that begs the questions. Was Roberts or Barrett on the fence? Did he believe that maybe one of those two justices, because we all know what the three liberals are going to do. We already know that. That's a given. It's a foregone conclusion. They're never going to swing towards guns, ever. But that would have been a 6-3 decision if both Barrett and Roberts joined. Now, Roberts has voted with us on 3 pro-gun cases, the 3 biggest ones this country's ever heard: 2008 Heller, 2010 McDonald, and 2022 Bruen case. He's voted with us on all of them. There's no reason to think he would backtrack. So that leaves Barrett. But even if he did, and she did side with the liberals, it's still a 5-4 victory. So I think there's something else in play here. I find it hard to believe that Roberts would be washy on this based on the precedent he has set in those previous 3 cases. And at that point, who the hell needs Barrett? Because we'll take a 5-4 win. 1-0 in a soccer game, as boring as it might be, is still a victory, Lee, right?
Right. I'm just
something else is up.
I'm so angry. I'd like to think that, but you know what I think? I think to them it's just a Second Amendment case. So it's no big deal, no big hurry. We'll fix it when we can, when we get around to it. No, these things need to be put to rest right now. Nobody needs to be denied their Second Amendment rights.
We're going to win this case eventually, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to tell you that 100%. This case gets to the court in its current makeup. We're going to win this case. I feel absolutely confident about that. Now, yeah, okay. I felt pretty good, that they were going to grant cert on this Fourth Circuit because of the way this thing has unfolded over the last 2 years. But we also threw out the disclaimer that we could be wrong. We never know what's going on, and we generally never know what happens when a case is refused cert. We have a little bit bigger window in this case because of Kavanaugh's statements on this, as you pointed out, making very clear that there are gun cases coming up in 3 individual circuits right now. I believe the 1st, 3rd, and 7th, possibly the 2nd as well, that are going to seek cert in similar cases. That's fine. He's admitting that. And he's admitting that the court will likely, no doubt, take one of these cases because the argument that these are in common use is very compelling. So he is signaling the direction he's going. That tells me that something else must be in play here. And, we that's what we don't know. But we do have a bigger window into this decision not to seek cert than we have in other cases before. And let's not forget Ocean State Tactical as well was also denied, Lee.
Yeah, I got to tell you, just looking at this as a human being, this is wrong. This is completely wrong. The theory that they're waiting for the right case to come along, I don't.
No, they already
agree
had
with
the right
it.
case. They already had this.
Yeah,
this case was the right case. That's why there's something else. Maybe they're looking for and deferring to, as they have in other cases, they want to see how the lower courts are going to rule post-Bruen, and apparently they're in no rush. Now, when we come back from the break, I'll throw at you what Mr. Gottlieb tossed at me in private conversations. Ladies and gentlemen, I told you yesterday, but I'll give that information to Lee as well. He likely is aware of it, but I do want to get his comments and thoughts on what else could be going on the court. And I think it's legitimate. There's no doubt that it's legitimate. But is it legitimate enough that they shouldn't have taken this case now when they all knew that this thing checked all the boxes? Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. Here in the 6 Hour Studios on the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center microphones, all being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. We'll be back with Lee the Gunwriter Williams. 3 more segments. Don't go away.
The following segment of Armed American Radio's Daily Defense is being brought to you by Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and use the AAR promo code to get free activation today. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, you can do that, ladies and gentlemen. If you're watching on your devices or TVs or whatever you're watching on, this is a Patriot Mobile activated phone. You can do the same thing, activate a Patriot Mobile phone, and give your money. You have to have phones. As much as I hate to admit that, you have to have them in today's day and age. Stone Age if you're not. Got to have it. But these phones, you might as well, if you're going to give your money away to them, you might as well give it to a company that supports your values, and in this case, blatantly supports your Second Amendment right. Nobody else does it like Patriot Mobile. Visit patriotmobile.com/AAR and join us. I've got one here, got a second one in the wings, and we're just doing it piecemeal, phone by phone. You can do the same thing. patriotmobile.com. You use the AAR promo code over there and hit that landing page. You can read all about everything about Patriot Mobile and the values that they hold. You'll find they're the same as yours, most likely. And if that's the case, join Patriot Mobile and you get a free month, and you activate that phone. You get a free month service. So take advantage of it. It's real simple to do. It takes a few seconds. They can get it all done for you, patriotmobile.com. And if you're watching on your devices and you want to join us at the NRA, remember this program is being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. We really need your help more than ever before now with this new NRA moving forward. We're not looking back anymore, guys. We're looking forward. And this National Rifle Association is doing the same thing. You're going to be hearing a lot from them on this program in the coming days, weeks, and months ahead. And if you're watching on your show, right below, I'm pointing down to the link right now. You can click on that link. Join NRA today by clicking the link. It is live. If you're watching on your devices, do that. That will take you, that link will take you to the AAR page. You get a nice discount over there. You get a cool hat and all kinds of fun stuff. And you can join for 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, or life. Your choice. I just re-upped it 5 years. You can do whatever you want to do. Add your family members and get a good discount over there and help us fight this fight going forward. And it's cases like we're talking about right now with Lee the Gunwriter Williams that make it so important to do. And I'll leave that link up for the segment. Lee, welcome back. Now, talking with Mr. Gottlieb over at Second Amendment Foundation, it's, you know, Alan does this every day, okay? Nothing shocks him when it comes to court decisions. He's not all up in arms like we are because he knows how this system plays. He's been doing it more than anybody else in America on behalf of gun rights for 50-plus years, in his 51st year now at SAF. So Alan understands this. He's very calm, cool, and level-headed. And he said, look, it's likely that the court, because they've got so many cases that are coming to them right now because of the Trump administration, a lot of emergency hearings and things of that nature, that it's a time issue at this point. They know other cases are coming. It's a time issue, and that may very well be true. But that doesn't satisfy our need to get this taken care of right away. Now, when I was talking with Greg during the break, Lee, I thought, and I said to Greg, and Greg, feel free to jump in, but I'm going to change my tune here a little bit. I said, this is a Roe v. Wade magnitude case. But then I thought about that a couple seconds later, and I thought, no, that's not the case. Because Roe v. Wade, I was thinking that in terms of what a massive decision it was. Roe v. Wade did not deal, as the Supreme Court later overturned, but the Roe v. Wade did not deal with a constitutional issue in the sense that abortion is not in the Constitution. The Second Amendment is in the Constitution. So this is even bigger than that. It's bigger than that. So that might lend some credence to what Mr. Gottlieb was saying about the time issue and knowing another case is coming up. Methinks they're going to take one sooner rather than later based on Kavanaugh's statement. But again, we just don't know. Lee, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Alan, of course. I mean, he is the sanest man in the room when it comes to watching these types of actions and then making a good decision. By far has more experience than anybody I've ever met. However, still, as a gun owner, I'm just still pissed.
And you ought to be. You're not alone. Let's go over to the Google gun control and see what comes up. I'll read a couple of here. Normally when you Google gun control, and I've done it on the show many times over the years, I've intentionally put myself in a position to do no show prep whatsoever. None. Take the day off until we air this program, and right when we go live, type the words in gun control. Now, that's taking a significant chance because you never know what's going to pop up. And I've done that before because I'm always confident that it's going to lay out what I need. And in this case, today, the unusual popped up. Here's the cases when you Google gun controls, or the topics when you Google gun control. Number one, Supreme Court declines to hear gun control challenges. Fox News, Supreme Court declines to examine appeals over Maryland, Rhode Island gun control. NBC, Supreme Court denies challenges to bans on assault-style weapons. WBAL, Supreme Court declines to hear challenge to Maryland assault weapon. USA Today, Supreme Court won't review bans on assault-style weapons and high-capacity magazines. Truth About Guns, breaking, SCOTUS declines major 2A case. New York Times, Supreme Court turns down challenge to ban on semi-automatic rifles. And then you have this one that I want to go to now. Supreme Court leaves state gun control laws intact for now, and the New Republic, Supreme Court finally does something good on guns for now. Now, if I had Googled gun control today, I'm left with talking about this subject for the hour if I hadn't done any pre-prep, Lee. And we could obviously do that, okay? So let's go to the New Republic. What does that headline mean? Supreme Court finally does something good on guns for now. Clearly a left-wing anti-gun outlet to even put that headline up, right?
Right.
Subhead, Supreme Court has declined to hear 2 high-profile challenges on gun laws. On Monday, the Supreme Court refused to hear 2 significant cases challenging Maryland's statewide ban on semi-automatic rifles and other assault-style weapons like AR-15s. Court's rejection of the cases, a somewhat surprising move for the conservative majority, means that the gun control laws will stay in place for now. The court also refused to hear a challenge to Rhode Island, that's Ocean State Tactical, and the magazine ban. 4 Supreme Court justices are needed to hear a case, and it goes on to explain that Thomas, Gorsuch, and Alito wrote in a dissenting opinion arguing that it wasn't consistent with the Supreme Court's conservative 2022 rules. See how they have to throw conservative in there all the time? That the right to bear arms extends outside the home. Justice Kavanaugh, the other conservative justice, wrote his own dissenting statement calling the Maryland ban an outlier and positing ominously that, quote, this court should and presumably will address the AR-15 issue soon. But that lends itself to the same questions that they didn't ask. The other conservative justice, what are they saying about Roberts and what are they saying about Barrett? Do they not view them conservative enough when Roberts has voted pro 2A on all 3 major huge gun cases in our lifetime? And Barrett doesn't even come up on this because, again, assuming that he's conservative and doesn't flip-flop on himself over the last 20 years, who cares about Barrett if she votes with the liberals? I'll take the 5-4 win. So there's a lot going on here, Lee. There's really a lot going on here.
Agreed. My heart goes out to the good folks living in those 2 states who may have wanted this to become the time when they can go out and legally purchase an AR.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic home defense weapon. Right now they're stuck with pistols and shotguns and bolt-action rifles. The whole thing is crazy.
Yeah, and keep in mind, too, ladies and gentlemen, as we prepare for this break, I'm sorry I hogged a lot of that up with that explanation here, but I think it was necessary to do, and we'll come back to Lee. Obviously, we've got him for 2 more segments for more on the discussion, and then we'll move on to some other issues. There is an egregious example of the lengths the anti-gunners will go to push their lies and their cause, which is disarming you. Don't believe that they want to disarm you and don't want to take your guns? Supreme Court finally does something good on guns for now. What is that? Upholding a ban on guns. Yeah, they want your guns. We'll be right back with Lee. Don't go away.
Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. It's great to have you here with me. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom today and every day here in the 6 Hour Studios in front of this Patriot Mobile Command Center microphone. And as you just heard on that rejoin, being brought to you every day now by the National Rifle Association. That's a huge partnership, ladies and gentlemen, and some great things are getting ready to happen. Some are already happening, and I'll be able to advise you of those things as we move forward over the coming days, weeks, and months ahead. But we value that relationship with the NRA now, and just, guys, I can't tell you how important it is. And Lee, I know you'll feel the same way, but particularly if you live in any of these blue states, it's more important than ever before. Oh, our guns are all safe. Okay, well, pay attention to what we're talking about here, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? You live behind the blue wall, the opponents of your right to keep and bear arms are going to use this SCOTUS to go absolutely berserk behind that blue wall. Why? Because they've been given a green light to do that for at least until one of these cases is decided, and that's going to be at least, more than likely two sessions, 2 years. It's 2 years out. You know what they're capable of doing behind the blue wall. Join the NRA right now. The NRA Institute for Legislative Action, I'll get it out, NRA-ILA, is working feverishly behind the scenes to stop that activity, but we need your help to do it. Help us move forward. Visit the NRA, nra.org/AAR. Join, get the discount that they've provided for you, and join the organization. Lee the Gunwriter Williams, welcome back in, my brother, from another pissed-off mother.
I couldn't agree more on your NRA. I mean, I am so happy that worked out for you. It's a great organization. It's a new organization right now. They're moving forward. I think you need to be clearer about that, brother. It is a brand new organization going forward.
Yeah, the old NRA is gone, guys. And for me to be convinced of that, I'm telling you right now, you can be convinced of that. And they are doing the right things. And they are really working behind the blue wall. And that, if you live in those districts, if you live in those states, if you live in those circuit courts where they're coming after you, and they are, you're not going to find 3 of the circuit courts making decisions in favor of our Second Amendment rights before this gets back to the Supreme Court. This will be upheld in other cases as well. That's why the court's going to wind up having to take one of these, Lee. It's pretty much that simple.
Yeah, I just hate the wait. I really do. Because, I mean, my God, man. I mean, how long have we been waiting for all these states to be equal, for everybody to have the same type of civil rights?
And, you know, as you get older, ladies and gentlemen, time moves quicker, sadly. It's true. And you feel your clock ticking, right? Am I going to get this done? How old am I going to be when this happens? If it happens in my lifetime, that's the way people are feeling right now. That's why people are so emotional about it and want everything done now. I get that. And I'm the one to tell you, be patient, you know. In this case, it really upsets me because it was right before them. And, you know, while I want to explain and talk with my guests, Lee, you included, about why they may have made these decisions, that does not mean that I'm not upset that they didn't make the decision. I still want to tell you to be patient. There's a lot of positive in what we heard from Kavanaugh, no doubt about it. But that doesn't wash away that's still there. It just makes you question it even more. If that's the way you think, why did you push it off? All right. So there we go. We beat that horse today. Let's go to anti-gun activist lies about surviving a school shooting that never occurred. Now, this story that you put out is getting a ton of legs. Kid's name was what? Calvin Polachek? Tell us about this punk.
I got this story from Alan Gottlieb, who sent it over on a text on a on Saturday afternoon. I'm like, oh my God. I look at it. I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe this. We published it early, published it yesterday morning. I mean, this kid made it all up. He's from a small town of Dallas, Pennsylvania. He said he was in a school shooting that killed 11 of his classmates, brother, including his brother and his best friend. And he was telling this, and everybody loved him. And then everything went to hell. The police department from Dallas Pennsylvania got involved. The school district, the school district said, it's very troubling and disheartening that it was a story that was being promulgated. I mean, we've never had an event like this in our school district. The whole thing was made up. He made the whole thing up. I took a little bit of look at his life. He was a mascot for 3 years in Bentley College, which I don't even know where the hell that is. I don't care. I know he wanted to become a mascot for some professional women's team. His
mascot
LinkedIn
meaning
page,
he put on like a big furry suit and hid behind that and that kind of mascot?
He was Bentley the Falcon.
Bentley, okay. Well, when I looked at his name here, I think you might have mistyped his name. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to try to get this correction from Lee right now. He made this whole thing up, right? But he named the school district, which was a real school district. He said he gave this event that he survived. 11 people were killed, including his brother. Am I right so far on the things he was making up?
You are. You are.
Okay. So when I saw his name was Calvin Polachek, I thought, I think you might have mistyped his name. I think his name is Calvin Polachek GPT. Could be.
Yeah.
ChatGPT makes stuff up about people. I know firsthand. Are you sure that you got this guy's spelling right? I think it's Polachek GPT, maybe is his name.
I loved it because I could end the story without anything from the pro-gun community. I let the anti-gunners speak, and they went off on him. Calvin reached out to our Kentucky chapter, shamefully lied to our volunteers, and shared a tragic story that we later learned was not true, said an official for Moms Demand Action.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on. Stop the tape. But they embraced him at first.
Exactly.
Didn't they?
Exactly.
Okay.
I mean,
so like ChatGPT users, you got to do your own due diligence now and make sure that the information you're getting is accurate, right?
All it would have taken, brother, would have been one Google search for mass shooting in Dallas, Pennsylvania. One Google search, and you would have known this kid was lying. But some of the photos, I mean, it showed him up on stage surrounded by all these anti-gun women. He's beaming in the photo. So I don't know. I think he wanted to do this for a living, and maybe not unlike some of the others that have taken on this role amongst themselves. Yeah, it was just mind-blowing doing the story. I couldn't believe it. Alan couldn't either. I mean, my God, man, the thing's horrible.
So it's impossible to get in somebody's head, but let's try. Okay, what would make a person, and I try to put myself in these shoes, concoct a lie about a real place that I know can be searched, about an event that would have made national and global news. Right. What would make this kid think that he could get away with this, that somebody's not just going to go a Dallas, Pennsylvania school shooting and mention that his own brother was killed? What's going on in this kid's head? Play psychologist for us right now.
I think, quite frankly, we're dealing with some type of mental illness. I think this kid is nuts. My heart goes out to him. I hope he gets some help, because this is clearly not what a rational human being would do, brother.
Yeah, well, and what does that say about the mental health of the people that embraced him on the anti-gun side, that were just so ready to bring this guy out, and support him for his statements? They would have put him on the payroll. They've done it before. I don't know if they did or not, but what does that say about their mental health and their mental stability as well? They're just so ready to attack you and hate you that they're going to embrace this stuff, Fun to talk about, but also very scary that there are people like this out there. Do I feel sorry for this kid? Not in the least bit. I'm glad he's outed. But good heavens, kid. Come on, man. Ladies and gentlemen, your life's an open book if you're on a computer at any time during the day now. There are programs you can buy to try to close that book, and it still doesn't work. This kid had to know. We'll be back. One more segment with Lee the Gunwriter Williams. All right, so guys, I'm looking in the chat here, and I see from Martin in here, new listener on Facebook Live, Raymond, and here's what he posted: "Love your show. First time listen on this I guess station. Was only on Saturday after Ole Miss ball game, 103.1 Gulf of America." So hey, there you go. We'll give Raymond Boone a shout out on the radio. This is not being heard on the radio right now. Of course, we're during a break, but we'll give you a shout out, Raymond. We like that. Thanks for jumping in, my brother. If you're tuned in right now, if not, you'll hear it on the podcast for show. Guys, I'm leaving early for Phoenix tomorrow morning. We've asked a really great radio host to sit in for me tomorrow. I'll have that information out later today, but if we're successful, there's an old adage in radio: never put a host in the seat that's better than you. I don't care about that. And if we're successful and this one comes in, he's one of the best ever. And he's been a guest on the show a couple times. So keep your fingers crossed that we can make that happen. Now, you'll really enjoy listening to him. He's absolutely outstanding. And I will only tell you he spells his name differently than mine, with a C and not a K. I don't know what that makes him. But he's a great guy and a tremendous host. If we can pull this off tomorrow, that would be huge for you. If not, you're likely going to get an encore tomorrow while I'm traveling. I've got a lot going on over the next few days. I'll be in Arizona lunching with the chairman of the House Judiciary there, the House Counsel, and I think the majority leader and one of the lobbyists, Republican lobbyists out there in Arizona. Then I'll be attending the legislative session, watch a couple gun bills get squashed, and get a nice shout out. And then Thursday, we're broadcasting from 960 The Patriot in beautiful downtown Phoenix, where attorneys on retainer, Mark Victor, will be with us in the studio. That's going to be a blast. And then afterwards, later on that evening, I'll be having dinner with the sheriff of Maricopa County for a private one-on-one for dinner at a fantastic restaurant in Cave Creek, Arizona. So it's going to be a fantastic trip. And then Andy Hoosier will be sitting in the chair for me on Friday, and we'll be back in plenty of time for the Sunday Monster Cast. So a lot going on. Fun stuff. You don't put the AC on until the show's about to come back, Greg. There's that.
30.
Mics and cameras are up.
The following segment of Armed American Radio is being brought to you by AttorneysOnRetainer.com. AttorneysOnRetainer.com. Visit them today. Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, guys, welcome back. I am, as of yesterday, well, I've been a member of Attorneys on Retainer, but as of yesterday, I got my official card. Okay, that's really cool. And you too, and just to give you the schedule coming up, because it all ties in with what I'm going to tell you about Attorneys on Retainer, but tomorrow, if everything works out right, we're going to have a great host in the chair subbing for me tomorrow, which will be a win-win all the way around. There's an old adage in radio, ladies and gentlemen, as a talk radio host: never put anybody in the host chair that's better than you. None of that means anything to me. I want you to get the best experience you can get. And if we get this host in, I readily admit he's better than me. He is phenomenal. He's been a guest on the show before. I'm not going to let the cat out of the bag in case it doesn't come together. But if it does, you're in for a real treat tomorrow with an absolute professional talk radio host who has been in the business his entire adult life. And he's just phenomenal. I'm a regular guest on his show every week, and he's been a guest on this program. I'll only say he spells his name wrong. He spells his name like mine, but he spells his name with a C. I spell mine with a K, and I'm right about that. But that's an argument for later that I can have with him at some point. Maybe we'll do that on air because it's fun. But nonetheless, if not, unfortunately, I'm going to have to run an encore because I'm traveling to Phoenix, Arizona tomorrow, where I'll be meeting, as soon as I get off my flight, grabbing a car, and I'm going to be heading over to the Arizona State Legislature, where I will be having lunch with Kwong Win, a fan favorite on this show. He is the House Judiciary Chair in the state of Arizona. I'll be meeting with one of the lobbyists, I believe the majority leader, and also the House Counsel. We have a lot of fans in the Arizona legislature at Armed American Radio. I then will spend some time on the floor of the Arizona legislature with them in the gallery, watching them kill a couple anti-gun bills, I believe. And then Thursday, 9:60 a.m., this is where we go to Attorneys on Retainer. We'll be broadcasting this program on Thursday, the 5th, from the 9:60 a.m. the Patriot Salem studios in beautiful downtown Phoenix. My guest will be Mark Victor, the founder of Attorneys on Retainer, Attorneys for Freedom law firm. He's the real deal. And like me, if you join, it's $35. You get $35 off your sign-up fee over there, which is chump change to begin with. When you're talking about retaining an attorney, it's very inexpensive. And I mean very inexpensive. It's only about $100 or something, maybe $200. Depends on what you get. But nonetheless, it is chump change. And the moment you sign up, you have an attorney literally on retainer. God forbid you have to use a firearm to defend your life. You can't do this after the fact. It's too late. Do it now. AttorneysOnRetainer.com. Have an attorney in your hip pocket, the only firm in the country who is dedicated to one thing, and that is self-defense law, period. And they operate in all 50 states. So God forbid you need an attorney. Don't do it after it's too late. Be able to say, I defended my life. I'm going to call my attorney. And you have an attorney, not just one, but the entire staff of attorneys. And they work in all 50 states on your behalf. It is a no-brainer, ladies and gentlemen. AttorneysOnRetainer.com. So we'll be broadcasting from there. And then will be really fun, and we'll hopefully be bringing him back to the show maybe this following Sunday if we can work it out. But I'll be having dinner afterwards with Maricopa County Sheriff Jerry Sheridan in beautiful Cave Creek, Arizona. So that's going to be a wonderful time. It's going to be a long couple days, but a lot happening. Friday, Andy Hoosier will be sitting in the chair for me, and of course we'll be back in the seat for you on the Sunday Monster Cast. So guys, go out of your way. Visit all of our partners. You can find them all, including the National Rifle Association and Attorneys on Retainer. The links are right there. You can visit armedamericanradio.com. It's that simple, and start taking advantage of this very cool setup we have with these amazing sponsors at armedamericanradio.com that are all there to protect you and help you. National Rifle Association, of course, Attorneys on Retainer, Ammo Squared. Start stacking. I will get my email tomorrow. I did get the first one today that said payment cleared. Tomorrow I have more ammo, ammosquared.com, budsgunshop.com. Don't have the Buds Gun Shop shirt on today, but nonetheless, visit all of our great partners. You can find them all, every single one of them, at armedamericanradio.com. Lee the Gunwriter Williams, welcome back in, my brother.
Thank you. Great to be here again.
So where do we go with this kid? Has there been any other, obviously the anti-gunners want to throw this under the rug. They don't want this. They don't want any more about this coming out. But you're doing your level best to keep it in the public eye. Why is it important that these people get exposed like this, Lee?
Well, because they have no one checks on the claims of their experts at all. It's like, oh, I was in a shooting. Okay, well, you're scheduled for 2:00. And the fact that this kid has disappeared, and I mean disappeared. His LinkedIn is still up, but you can't get a hold of him. I tried every way I know how.
He ain't going to talk to
you. No.
He don't want to talk to you. I mean, this is almost this is like a stolen valor type thing,
It is.
I mean, faking something like that in this day and age. Ryan Petty, Parkland father Ryan Petty, is a dear friend of mine and a regular guest on this program on the Roundtable every week, guys. And he did live through this. His daughter was murdered by a scumbag who did not get the death penalty, sadly, in Parkland. And, I've talked to Ryan. These stories anger him like nobody's business. And they should. And not just him, even the anti-gunners, the guys who have gone in full gun control after a terrible event like that. It doesn't matter what side you believe. This is wrong all the way around, bro. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right. You're spot on. And that's the worst part. Why do it? Why? I think he saw the success that some other people were having. Oh, my God, they get to have their own show. They get chosen for this position, this government position. And I quite frankly think he wanted to emulate that. I think he wanted to be a shooting survivor and get access to all the fun stuff they get access to.
I want to be a new David Hogg, right? Maybe,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why anybody would want to be David Hogg, but Good heavens. But yeah, the psychology behind this is really strange. Speak with a fake accent. Say you were from a country nobody heard of, where it might be, even in today's day and age, it's impossible not to pull the facts up, But you got to wonder what goes through somebody's head. Are they that depraved that they would do? Obviously they are. I mean, this kid gave a hell of a story, and every bit of it was BS. Every bit of it.
He said his own brother was killed.
Yeah, I mean, how'd you like to be his brother?
Think about how you live with that. How do you live with that?
Yeah. Hey, Calvin, what are you talking about? I'm here, bro.
Yeah.
I'm just being his brother. I don't know. I don't get it. None of it makes sense to me. But really nothing the anti-gun left does make sense to me. It never has. No. Except for the fact, what does make sense to me is that they continue to push the agenda the way they do it because they have the media in their hip pocket. So it does make sense that they continue to abuse that relationship to spread lies. And that's why we're here on this program, is to counter those lies and keep our voices out there. It's very, very important, ladies and gentlemen. That's why you got to join these organizations, particularly when you hear about the topics we're talking about when it comes to legislation that impacts your life in such a profound, profane way, like this Fourth Circuit case that now stands because SCOTUS was weak. That's all I can say. Obviously, there's weakness there to some extent. I mean, come on, SCOTUS. I mean, let us know if you're not. Say something else. But Kavanaugh's statement, well, okay, it had some positives in it. It just wasn't enough. It's just not enough. Lee, where can people find you, brother?
They can go to armedamericannews.org. They can go to thegunwriter.substack.com or saf.org, brother.
All right, man. You know where to go to get Lee the Gunwriter Williams, ladies and gentlemen. The Whirlwind Trip in Arizona begins tomorrow morning. We'll have a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Make sure to tune into the program tomorrow for sure. And Thursday, where I will be out at 960 Salem Radio Network Studios in beautiful Phoenix. They have beautiful studios there. I've broadcasted from there before. It's going to be a lot of fun. Mark Victor, attorneys on retainer, will be joining us. And we'll be talking about self-defense cases and things you need to know about. We're going to pick his brain and take advantage of being in the room with him. Don't miss the show. Andy Hoosier on Friday, always a good program. So have at it. We'll see you live back on the radio on Thursday, and then I'll be back on Sunday. Enjoy your day. Stay safe. We'll see you on the radio, folks. Thanks for being here.
You just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by the National Rifle Association. The National Rifle Association on the Armed American Radio Network.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in today. Appreciate it very, very much. Tomorrow, busy day. Thursday, busy day. Friday, going to lay low. Saturday, going to lay low. Catch a red eye coming back Saturday night, getting into the ATL Sunday morning early, and be back in the chair for you on Armed American Radio's Monster Cast. Guys, I gave an interview about my court case to Industry Trade Monster Talkers Magazine yesterday. It's about a 30-minute interview. If you want to, and it's about the ChatGPT deal and all that fun stuff. So it's the first interview I've given. They got the first exclusive on that. So if you want to listen to that interview, my discussion with Michael Harrison, the founder of Talkers Magazine, the largest industry trade magazine that has been very closely following my case, or what was my case, head over to talkers.com, and it's the top story there. You can read it and click on the little button there, and you can listen to the interview I gave. I think you'll find it quite fascinating. So do that. Sink your teeth into that. Have some fun. Enjoy your day. Stay safe. We'll be traveling tomorrow. See you on the radio live on Thursday and again on Sunday. Enjoy your day, guys. Thanks for being here. We'll see you on the radio. Done.